Hi guys, and welcome back to another video where today I'm going to be predicting the scores of the first leg of the semi-finals of this 2018-2019 Champions League. Now, looking back at the quarter-finals, what an amazing round that was. We had Barcelona beating Manchester United, Ajax humbling the mighty Juventus, Liverpool beating Porto, and of course that fantastic two-legged affair between Tottenham Hotspur and Man City, which saw Spurs go through on the away goals rule. But this week we've got two excellent semi-finals to look forward to. First up, on Tuesday we have Spurs against Ajax, the first leg taking place at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. And then on Wednesday we have Barcelona against Liverpool at the Camp Nou. So let's have a brief look back at Spurs' last 6 results in all competitions. So yesterday, Spurs lost at home for the first time in their new stadium against West Ham. That was 1-0 victory to the Hammers, and that was Spurs' first goal that they've conceded as well at their new home. Prior to that, on 23rd of April, we had Spurs beating Brighton 1-0. Before that, Tottenham visited Manchester City where they lost 1-0. Before that, it was Manchester City again in the second leg of the Champions League where they lost 4-3 because they went through on aggregate. Prior to that, Tottenham defeated Huddersfield 4-0, and prior to that they beat Manchester City in their first Champions League match at their new home, winning 1-0. Manchester City of course didn't turn up that day. So looking at Ajax's last 6 fixtures, last Tuesday they beat Vitesse Arnhem 4-2. Prior to that they beat FC Groningen 1-0 away. Before that was that second leg victory over Juventus in Turin, 2-1 of course they won. Before that they beat Excelsior 6-2. Prior to that they gained that 1-1 draw against Juventus in the first leg of the Champions League quarter-final. And prior to that they had a fine 4-1 victory over William II away from home. The last defeat in the league was on the 3rd of March, and that was away against AZ Alkmaar. Today I was actually told that Ajax have scored 160 goals in all competitions this season, which is a Dutch record. So how have Spurs and Ajax got on against each other in the past? Well, they've only actually met each other twice, and that was way back in 1981 in the European Cup Winners' Cup competition. Of course, that's now defunct, and Spurs won both of those ties. With Tottenham star man Harry Kane still out injured, Spurs are going to look to the likes of Son, Dele Alli and Eriksen to come up with the magic to send them through to the final of the Champions League. From Ajax's point of view, they're going to look towards Frankie de Jong, who of course is on his way to Barcelona at the end of the season, Hakim Ziyech, who has scored 16 goals and 12 assists this season in the Dutch Eredivisie, and Dusan Tadic, who've got 24 goals and 12 assists in the Dutch Eredivisie. So what is my prediction for this exciting first match? Well, Ajax, as we've seen in the Champions League already, they've been very strong away from home. Spurs only winning 3 of their last 6 fixtures, although they've been very strong at home at their new stadium, although they did lose yesterday against the Hammers in the Premier League. So I think it's going to be a very tight affair. I think there's going to be a few goals, but I think that Ajax are going to continue their fine form away from home, and I can actually see them coming away from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with a 2-1 victory. Moving on to the second fixture, which takes place on Wednesday evening, the 1st of May. This takes place at the Camp Nou between Barcelona and Liverpool, and many people would have loved this to have been the final. Both teams in fantastic form at the moment, but let's have a quick look at Barcelona's last 6 fixtures. Yesterday, on Saturday, Barcelona beat Levante 1-0. Prior to that, they beat Deportivo Alaves 2-0 away from home. Prior to that, they beat Real Sociedad 2-1. Prior to that, it was the 3-0 victory at home against Manchester United. They had an away draw against Huesca, which ended up 0-0. And prior to that was the first leg at Old Trafford where they beat Manchester United 1-0. Barcelona's last defeat was on the 6th of March against Girona. That was at home and they lost 1-0, but they were without many of the star players, and that was in the Cup, or the Supercopa de Catalunya. A lot of their players were rested for that match, however. The last league defeat was way back in January, on the 23rd of January, and that was against Seville. Moving on to Liverpool's last 6 fixtures. On Friday evening, they defeated Huddersfield 5-0, an absolute rout, I should say. Prior to that, they gained that 2-0 victory against Cardiff City at the Cardiff City Stadium. Prior to that, it was the second leg of the Champions League where they beat Porto 4-1. Before that, they beat Chelsea 2-0, and prior to that, they beat Porto 2-0 in the first leg at Anfield. And prior to that, on the 5th of April, they beat Southampton 3-1. The last defeat in all competitions was on the 7th of January, which was against Wolves in the FA Cup. And Liverpool's last defeat in the league was a 2-1 away defeat, which was against Manchester City. Looking at how these two teams fare in the head-to-head, they played each other 8 times. Barcelona have won 2 fixtures, Liverpool have won 3, and there's been 3 draws. Both teams have an abundance of talent. The likes of Barcelona, they've got the likes of Messi, Suarez, Coutinho. It'll be very interesting to see what sort of reception Coutinho gets in the second leg at Liverpool, and also Suarez, but I think he'll get a very good reception from the Anfield crowd. Liverpool themselves have an amazing array of talent throughout their ranks, but their big three as Mane, Salah and Firmino, and of course Firmino missed the 5-0 victory over Huddersfield at Anfield on Friday night. I think that was through injury, so he should be back for them on Wednesday evening in this epic battle against Barcelona. So how do I see this one going? Again, this is going to be a tight match like the Ajax Spurs fixture. There's not going to be many goals in this one. Liverpool don't concede that many. Barcelona don't concede that many either. So I can only see 1 goal in this one, and I think it's going to go just to the Catalonians. I can see this one being a 1-0 victory to Barcelona. Probably we'll see Messi or Suarez scoring, but it'll set up the second leg at Anfield to be possibly the game of the season. So that's how I see these 2 fixtures going, guys. As usual, I'm going to leave a template of these fixtures in the description. All you need to do is copy and paste them into your comment. And the top scorer, or the person who gets the most correct, will get a shout out in the video that I'll do for the second leg of the Champions League semi-final. Before I go, guys, remember there'll be a video out late on Wednesday evening, which will be week 37 of the Premier League. It's all building up to that climax. Who's going to win the league? Is it going to be Manchester City or Liverpool? Of course, Manchester City won this afternoon a narrow victory over Burnley. But for now, guys, thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you in the next video.